Good afternoon. This is part two of the show I did this morning. And I think I'm calling this show Sicker in America or A Sicker Nation. And I'm still questioning. It's such a conundrum to me how, with all the new technology and all the new health rules that everybody abides by, oh, you should quit smoking, you lose weight, don't drink. And a lot of people adhere to these new rules. They think they're living a healthier life, and yet we're sicker now than we were, especially our children, back when I was growing up. I talked about that this morning. I said, when I was in school, my fellow classmates, nobody went to the nurse's office to get medication, to get an antidepressant or an ADHD pill. No one had inhalers that they were using. We were allowed to eat peanut butter sandwiches at lunch, take them on school class trips. It was just a different time. And today, all these years later, it's been 35 years since I graduated high school. And we're talking elementary school. And we didn't have any of these illnesses. Something's changed. And you'd think it would have changed for the better. Back when I was in school, kids weren't on prescription drugs because they fidgeted in class. Kids weren't on antidepressants because they were stressed out. Today, they are. That is a conundrum for me. I also talked earlier about histrionics. Histrionic sickness, where a cough, a fever, a sore throat, you run to the ER because, oh my God, you're going to die. Well, let me just give you some personal experience. My favorite personal experience, when 90% of everyone on Facebook said I absolutely needed to go to the ER, was when I thought I broke both of my rib cages. I mean, both of them. I was in some outrageously wrong shoes at the wrong time. I was walking up deck steps and I fell forward, holding a plate of food. And I fell on my rib cage. I mean, bam! And I couldn't breathe. I thought I was going to die right there because, anyone who's ever had bruised or broken ribs, you get it. It just knocked the wind right out of me. And I just got to the table, sat down, and just started short breaths. And eventually I could breathe, kind of, but I was in agony. Okay? And again, at the Bay, no car, crap health insurance, no ER anywhere close to me. So I Googled it. The internet worked. Yeah, yay, internet. I Googled it, and I did see that, well, there were two scenarios. One was not good, and one was not as bad. Let's put it that way. They were both bad, but one was, of course, that I broke my ribs, or a rib, and it punctured my lung. Which in that case, I probably, if I hadn't gotten medical attention, would have been dead in the time it took me to Google this situation. So I knew I hadn't broken my ribs. I bruised them. But I bruised them badly, and I bruised both. And therein was part of the problem. But they did give me some really good advice, by the way. First of all, you have to wrap them very tightly. Well, of course, I didn't have an ace bandage handy. I'm in the middle of buttfuck nowhere. No car, no pharmacy anywhere close. So I took an Afghan that I had crocheted, by the way, tough Afghan, and I wrapped it around me as tight as I could. And then they told you breathing exercises you can do, which is basically hold, let go, hold, let go, to, exercise your lungs. And then they said, well, sleep on the side, by the way, of the rib that is bruised or broken. Well, both of them were. So I was sleeping flat on my stomach. And it hurt, but that helped to heal them. But Facebook, my friends on Facebook, they're like, oh, dude, Dad, go to the ER. Are you kidding me? You are going to be in agony. They'll give you drugs. That was the only reason anybody told me. Because once you make it through the first 24 hours, your lungs aren't punctured. You're not dying. But they're like, you can go get the good stuff, the opioids, the Percocet, the Vicodin. I'm like, dudes, I don't do that. No way. I was in a lot of pain. But I had my Aleve. I had my Bengay, which, by the way, I rubbed Bengay on my ribs, wrapped them real tight, and I fell in September. And every week it got a little better, but it wasn't completely gone until Thanksgiving in November. But I didn't need an ER, I didn't need a doctor, and I didn't need prescription pills. I toughed it out. Last year, no health insurance last year. I had no health insurance. And I got bronchitis. And again, everybody's saying you need antibiotics, you've got to go to the doctor. Well, again, at the Bay, no car, no pharmacy, no ER, no insurance. So I toughed it out. And guess what? Sure, if I had taken antibiotics, probably would have been feeling better in a week or two. It took 3 weeks for me to feel better, and my cough lingered probably because I didn't stop smoking, of course. I'm a smoker. That's fine. But it lingered for about till the middle of June. And then I was fine. Same old me. No doctor visit. No antibiotics. No bill. I just toughed it out. Robitussin, Vicks Vapor Rub. Again, my Vicks Vapor Rub. Gotta have it all the time. And Alka-Seltzer plus cold and flu. And I got through it. Was I miserable? Sure. But it didn't cost me a lot of money. And I'm just fine. A few years ago, I had this big bump on the back of my neck. I didn't know what it was. My husband's like, damn, that looks bad. I'm like, you know what? Here's a needle. Let's sterilize it. Put it over the fire. Pop it. He's like, what? I'm like, pop it. See what happens. So he popped it. All this pus came pouring out of it. And it went down. And then it came back, and it's only like this big. Guess what it is? And guess who diagnosed it? It's so funny. I kept an eye on it, of course. But it's a cyst. And actually, the way I found out for sure it was a cyst, I've had it now for about, 6, 7 years. And it's always the same size, and it doesn't hurt, it doesn't bother me. And I was at the vet, and my dog actually has a cyst on her back. And so I said to the vet, I said, look at this. I kind of have this. Is this the same thing that my dog has? He said, yup, it's a cyst. I'm like, yes. There you go. 2 diagnoses in 1. That's why I love my vet so much. Dr. Lewis, I love you. He diagnoses me and the dog. But again, I didn't need to run to the doctor or the ER. Because again, I could have said, oh my God, it's cancer. That's what my husband was like, oh my God, what if it's cancer? I'm like, I've had it for 5 years. It hasn't grown. Pus came out of it. Never heard of a cancer tumor pussing out. And it doesn't bother me. Doesn't even look that bad. So if it were cancer, you would think it would grow and I'd be dead by now. But it's a cyst. Nothing required, except maybe if it blows up again, have my husband stick a needle in it. I'm a chef. You all know how much I love to cook. And with a chef comes injuries. I have had 2nd-degree burns. I didn't go to the ER. Maybe I should have because I have scars. But I know what to do. Ice it, baking soda paste, all kinds of good stuff you can do for a burn. You don't have to run to the ER. I've also practically almost sliced my finger off. My husband's like, we need to go to the ER. You need stitches. I'm like, no, I don't. I cut up some tape, butterflied it together, put a big wrap around it, held it up for about 25 minutes, and it stopped bleeding. And as soon as it stops bleeding, as far as I'm concerned, I don't care if I have a scar. I just saved $500 going to the ER with some masking tape and a little discomfort holding my finger in the air. Now, when it's this finger, which has happened also, that can be a problem. You want to make sure if this finger gets cut and you have to hold it up for 25 minutes, you're not going to want to do that outside because people could think you're insulting them. It's like, no, I cut my finger, honest. Look, I'm trying to stop the bleeding. I have removed warts with tweezers. I've done a lot of let's just say self-first aid to avoid the emergency room, to avoid doctors, to avoid prescription medication I don't need and I don't want. Yeah, I'm not a histrionic kind of person. Sure, I worry about my health. I worry that I don't go to the doctor as often as I probably should for checkups and things, but I also feel that when something's not broke, the more you mess with it, it's going to end up breaking. If you want to see how your VCR works, because it's working so well, and you start taking it apart, 90% of the time it's not going to work when you put it back together. So I kind of live my life that way. And I also know my body pretty well, which I think is important for everybody. Know your body. Because I know when something's really, really, really not right, like an abscessed tooth, that right away, dentist. Got to go to the dentist for that. There's nothing I can do at home for that except take pliers and pull my own tooth, which I'm not going to do. That would be crazy. But this other stuff is stuff you just don't sweat. You figure it out. But for you parents out there, and I understand, I don't have children, but I know that when my dog is sick, if my dog has any little thing, I'm running to the vet. I'm a histrionic dog owner. But again, my dog can't talk to me. She can't tell me how she's feeling, what she's feeling, if this hurts, if that hurts. And I'm lucky that I have a vet, by the way, in Dr. Lewis, who will not nickel and dime me, who will not add to my fears or overreact. Dr. Lewis tells me, you were right to bring her in, it's nothing. And then he charges me a reasonable price, unlike medical doctors who will tell you there's nothing wrong with you and charge you $500 for the privilege. That's where I draw the line. Not paying $500 to find out everything's cool. Not going to do it. I don't roll that way. But at the end of the day, I understand why especially new parents get nervous. Because you hear all the stories. There's too much news out there. There's too much information out there. There's too many books out there about how to be a good parent, how to do it right, that we're trying not to give parents any leeway to even get it wrong. Every parent is going to make mistakes. And every child at some point in their lives is going to get sick from something. But what I would like to say, not being a parent myself, is use your common sense before you do the histrionics. And then I think we all need to hear the answer, and I'd like to hear comments of anybody who would like to continue the discussion from this morning's show. Why is it that with all this technology we have today, all these medical breakthroughs, all the information we have about how to live healthier lives if we so choose to, why are we a sicker nation? And why are we getting sicker at younger ages with diseases that when I was growing up, nobody ever heard of? See you back here tomorrow morning. Political Paula, out.